तो मंगलाचरण आप करेंगे प्रभु जी?
Go ahead, Udit Prabhu.
ओके प्रभु जी। ओम अज्ञानम तिमिरंधस्य ज्ञानांजनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वरूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरु वैष्णवं च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगण रघुनाथवितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधाकृष्णपदान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखावितं च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्वेशेष शून्यवादी पाशदेशतारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपेयकांत राधाकांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च च कृपा सिन्धुएव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay. So we are going to start with the chapter 3, liberation from material planets. The Gyanis and Yogis are generally impersonalists, and although they attain the temporary form of liberation by merging into impersonal effulgence, the spiritual sky.
प्रभु जी आप स्क्रीन शेयर कर रहे हैं क्या? सॉरी टू इंटरप्ट, आपकी स्क्रीन आ रही है क्या? आई एम नॉट श्योर, मुझे नहीं दिख रही।
Yes, प्रभु जी, sorry sir. Is it now visible, प्रभु जी?
Yes, प्रभु जी, thank you.
Okay, Prabhuji. The Gyanis and Yogis are generally impersonalists, and although they attain the temporary form of liberation by merging into impersonal effulgence, the spiritual sky, their knowledge, and according to Srimad Bhagavatam, is not considered pure. By penances, austerities, and meditations, they can rise up to the supreme absolute platform. But as has been explained, they again fall down to the material world because they have not taken Krishna's personal features seriously. Unless one worships the lotus feet of Krishna, he again has to descend to the material platform. The ideal attitude should be, I am your eternal servitor. Please let me somehow engage in a service. Krishna is called Ajitaha, unconquerable. For no one can conquer God. But according to Srimad Bhagavatam, one with this attitude easily conquers the Supreme. Srimad Bhagavatam also recommends that we give up this futile process to measure the Supreme. We cannot even measure the limitation of space. What to speak of the Supreme? It is not possible to measure the length and breadth of Krishna by one's minuscule knowledge. And one who arrives at this conclusion is considered intelligent by Vedic literature. One should come to understand submissively that he is a very insignificant segment of the universe. Abandoning the endeavor to understand the Supreme by limited knowledge or mental speculation, we should become submissive and hear of the Supreme through authoritative sources such as Bhagavad Gita or through the lips of realized soul. Yes, Prabhuji.
In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is hearing about God from the lips. Sorry, Prabhuji, मैं सही जगह हूँ?
Yes, Prabhuji.
हाँ. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is hearing about God from the lips of Sri Krishna himself. In this way, Arjuna set the criteria for understanding the Supreme by submissive hearing. It is our position to hear Bhagavad Gita from the lips of Arjuna or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. After hearing, it is necessary to practice this acquired knowledge in daily life. My dear Lord, you are unconquerable, the devotee prays, but by this process, by hearing, you are conquered. God is unconquerable, but he is conquered by the devotee who abandons mental speculations and listens to authoritative sources.
Yes.
मैं पढ़ूं उदit?
Yes, Prabhuji.
According to Brahma Samhita, there are two ways of acquiring knowledge: the ascending process and descending process. By the ascending process, one is elevated by knowledge acquired by himself. In this way, one thinks, I don't care for any authorities or books. I will attain knowledge myself by meditation, philosophy, etc. In this way, I will understand God. The other process, the descending process, involves receiving knowledge from higher authorities. Brahma Samhita states that if one takes to the ascending process and travels at the speed of mind and wind for millions of years, he will still end up not knowing. For him, subject matter will remain elusive and inconceivable. But that subject matter is given in Bhagavad Gita, Ananya Chetaha. Krishna says to meditate on him without deviation from the path of devotion service in submission. For one who worships him in this way, Tashyaham Sulabha, I become easily available. This is the process. If one works for Krishna 24 hours a day, Krishna cannot forget him. By becoming submissive, he can attract the attention of God. As Guru Maharaj Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur used to say, don't try to see God. Is God to come and stand before us like a servant just because we want to see him? That is not the submissive. We have to oblige him by our love and service.
Yes. Ishu Prabhu. The proper process of approaching Krishna was given to humanity by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami, his first disciple. Appreciated it. Rupa Goswami was a minister in the Mohammedan government, but he left the government to become a disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he first went to see the Lord Rupa Goswami approached him. When he first went to see Lord, Rupa Goswami approached him with the following verse: Namo Mahavadanya Krishna Premaya Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namo Gaur Taviste Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisance onto the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who is more magnanimous than any other avatars, even Krishna himself, because he is bestowing freely what no one else has ever given, pure love of Krishna. Rupa Goswami called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the most munificent, the most charitable personality, because he was offering the most precious thing that all very cheaply think of all very cheaply, love of God. We want Krishna and we are hankering after him. Krishna is the most attractive, the most beautiful, the most opulent, the most powerful, and the most learned. That is the object of our hankering. We are hankering after the beautiful, the powerful, the learned, the wealthy. Krishna is the reservoir of all of these. So we need only turn our attentions towards him, and we will get everything, whatever we want, whatever in our heart desires will be fulfilled by this process of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Deepak Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
For one who dies in Krishna consciousness, as stated before, entrance into Krishna Loka, the supreme abode where Krishna resides, is guaranteed. At this point, one may ask what the advantage is in going to that planet, and Krishna himself answers, Mam upetya punarjanma dukhalam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. Bhagavad Gita 8.15.
Swati Mataji.
Hare Krishna. This material world is certified by Sri Krishna, the Creator, as Dukhalyam, full of miseries. How then can we make it comfortable? Is it possible to make this world comfortable by the so-called advancement of science? No, this is not possible. As a result, we do not even wish to know what these miseries are. The miseries, as stated before, are birth, old age, disease, and death. And because we cannot make a solution to them, we try to set them aside. Science has no power to solve these miseries that are always giving us trouble. Instead, they divert our attention into making spaceships or atomic bombs. The solution to these problems is given here in Bhagavad Gita. If one attains to Krishna's platform, he does not have to return again to this earth of birth and death. We should try to understand. We should try to understand where it is. We should try to understand that this place is full of miseries. It takes a certain amount of developed consciousness to understand this. Cats and dogs and hogs cannot understand that they are suffering. Man is called a rational animal, but this rationality is being used to further his animalistic propensities instead of finding out how to get liberation from this miserable condition. Here, Krishna explicitly states that one who comes to him will never be reborn to suffer miseries again. Those great souls who come to him have attained the highest perfection of life, which alleviates the living entity from the suffering of conditional existence.
Kanak.
One of the differences between Krishna and an ordinary being is that an ordinary entity can be only in one place at a time, but Krishna can be everywhere in the universe and yet in his own abode. Simultaneously, Krishna's abode in the transcendental kingdom is called Golak Vrindavan. The Vrindavan in India is that same. Vrindavan descended on this earth. When Krishna descends himself by his own internal potency, his Dhamma or abode also descends. In other words, when Krishna descends on this earth, he manifests himself in that particular land. Despite this, Krishna's abode remains eternally in the transcendental sphere in the Vaikunthas. In this verse, Krishna proclaims that one who comes to his abode in the Vaikunthas never has to take birth again in the material world. Such a person is called Mahatma. The word Mahatma is generally heard in the West in connection with Mahatma Gandhi, but we should understand that Mahatma is not the title of a politician. Rather, Mahatma refers to the first class Krishna conscious man who is eligible to enter into the abode of Krishna. The Mahatma's perfection is this: to utilize the human form of life and the resources of nature to extricate himself from the cycle of birth and death. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Udit Prabhuji.
Audible नहीं होते प्रभु.
Sorry. An intelligent person knows that he does not want miseries, but they are inflicted upon him by force. As stated before, we are always in a miserable condition due to this mind, body, natural disturbances, and other living entities. There is always some kind of misery inflicted upon us. This material world is meant for misery. Unless the misery is there, we cannot come to Krishna consciousness. Miseries are actually an impetus and help to elevate us to Krishna consciousness. An intelligent man questions why these miseries are inflicted on him by force. However, modern civilization's attitude is let me suffer, let me cover it by some intoxication. That's all. But as soon as the intoxication is over, the miseries return. It is not possible to make a solution to the miseries of life by artificial intoxication. The solution is made by Krishna consciousness. Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Navin Prabhu.
प्रभु जी मेरे लिए स्क्रीन ब्लैक हो गई है, पता नहीं क्यों. मेरे को एक सेकंड से कुछ कर. हाँ अभी आ गया है.
Okay.
One may point out that although the devotees of Krishna are trying to enter Krishna's planet, our interest is in going to the moon. Is that going to the... 1 second, Prabhu, sorry, I'm driving also. Actually, can Alapu you read? I'm also driving. Yeah,
Okay,
I need to park.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no issue.
Okay.
Please.
One may point out that although the devotees of Krishna are trying to enter Krishna's planet, our interest isn't going to the moon. Isn't going to the moon also perfection? The tendency to travel to other planets is always present in the living entity. One name for the living entity is Sarvagata, which means one who wants to travel everywhere. Travel is part of nature of the living entity. The desire to go to the moon is not a new thing. The yogis also are interested in entering the higher planets, but in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna points out that this will not be of any help. Abrahma Bhuvanaloka Punar Avritanorjuna Mam Upetya Tukonteya Punar Janma Navedyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Bhagavad Gita 8.16.
Yes, issue Prabhu.
The universe is divided into higher, middle, and lower planetary systems. The Earth is considered to be a member of the middle planetary system. Krishna points out that even if one enters into the highest planet of all, called Brahmaloka, there is still repetition of birth and death. Another planet in the universe are full of living entities. We should not think that we are here and that all the other planets are vacant. From the experience, we can see that no place on earth is vacant of living entities. If we dig down into the earth, we find worms. If we go deep into the water, we find aquatics. If we go into the sky, we found so many birds. How it is possible to conclude that other planets have no living entities? But Krishna points out that even if we enter into those planets where great demigods reside, we will still be subjected to death. Again, Krishna repeats that upon approaching his planet, one needs not to take birth again.
Yes.
We should be very serious about attaining our eternal life full of bliss and knowledge. We have forgotten that this is actually our aim of life. Our real self-interest, why have we forgotten? We have simply been entrapped by the material glitter by skyscrapers, big factories, and political play. Although we know that however big we build skyscrapers, we will not be able to live here indefinitely. We should not spoil our energy in building mighty industries and cities to further entrap ourselves in material nature. Rather, our energy should be used to develop Krishna consciousness in order to attain a spiritual body, whereby we may enter into Krishna planet. Krishna consciousness is not a religious formula or some spiritual recreation. It is the most important part of the living entity.
Oh, okay.
So, Prabhuji,
Shall I just start?
shall we start with the chapter 4, Prabhuji? Look, Prabhuji.
Yes, Udit bro. Let's go ahead. Let's read for 5 minutes and then we can discuss.
Okay. Yes, yes, Mataji.
Okay. Chapter 4, The Sky Beyond the Universe. If even the higher planets in this universe are subject to birth and death, why do great yogis strive for elevation to them? Although they may have many mystic powers, these yogis still have the tendency to want to enjoy the facilities of material life. On the higher planets, it is possible to live for incredibly long lifetimes. The time calculation on these planets is indicated by Sri Krishna. Saharsa Yuga पर्यन्तम् अहर्यात् ब्रह्माणो विदुः रत्रिं युगा सहस्रन्तं देहो रत्र विदु ज्ञानः. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Bhagavad Gita 8.17.
Yes.
Once yoga covers 43 lakh years, This number multiplied by 1000 is calculated to be 12 hours of Brahma on the planet Brahmaloka. Similarly, another 12-hour period covers the night. 30 days, such days equal a month. 12 months a year, and Brahma lives for 100 such years. Life on such a planet is indeed long, yet, even after trillions of years, the inhabitants of Brahmaloka have to face death. Unless we go into the spiritual planets, there is no escape from death. Hare Krishna.
Vyakatad.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have to drop in the middle. I am getting a call from office. Sorry, Prabhuji.
Okay, no issues, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
अव्यक्ताद् व्यक्तः सर्वः प्रभवन्ते अहर आगामि रात्रे आगामि प्रलीयन्ते तत्र व्यक्त समानके when Brahma's day is manifest, the multitude of living entities comes into being, and at the arrival of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. Bhagavad Gita 8.18.
So at the end of the day of Brahma, all the lower planetary systems are covered with water, and the beings on them are annihilated. After this devastation, and after the night of Brahma passes, in the morning when Brahma arises, there is again creation, and all these beings come forth. Thus, subjection to creation and destruction is the nature of the material world. Bhutagrama sa ivayam bhutva bhutva pravilyate ratri agame vashya partha prabhavati ahar agame. Again and again the day comes, and this host of beings is active, and again the night falls, O Parth, and they are helplessly dissolved.
Ishu
Although the living entities do not like devastation, their devastation will come and overflood the planets until all living beings on the planet stay merged in the water throughout the night of Brahma. But as day comes, the water gradually disappears. Paras tasmat tu bhavonya vaikato vyagata sanatana ya sa sarveshu bhuteshu nastastu na vinashyati. Yet there is another nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is the supreme and never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Bhagavad Gita 8.20.
We cannot calculate the extent of the material universe, but we have Vedic information that there are millions of universes within the entire creation. And beyond this material universe, there is another sky which is spiritual. There, all the planets are eternal, and the lives of all the beings on them are eternal. In this verse, the word bhava means nature, and here another nature is indicated. In this world, we have experience also of two natures. The living entity is spirit, and as long as he is within matter, matter is moving. And as soon as the living entity, the spiritual spark is out of the body is immovable. The spiritual nature is called Krishna, superior in nature, and the material is called the inferior. Beyond this material nature, there is a superior nature, which is totally spiritual. It is not possible to understand this by experimental knowledge. We can see millions and millions of stars through a telescope, but we cannot approach them. We have to understand our incapabilities. If we cannot understand the material universe by experimental knowledge, what is the possibility of understanding God and His kingdom? It is not possible experimentally. We have to understand by hearing Bhagavad Gita. We cannot understand who our Father is by experimental knowledge. We have to hear the word of our mother and believe her. If we do not believe her, there is no way of knowing. If we just stick to Krishna conscious method, all information about Krishna and his kingdom will be revealed.
Yes.
I think we can stop here.
Okay.
No, I think we can stop here. We can discuss with Pro.
Okay, so we can start with issue Prabhu. Realizations, Prabhu.
प्रभु जी 2 पॉइंट्स थे इसमें। पहला जो है प्रभुपाद बता रहे हैं कि नेचर क्या है इस मटेरियल वर्ल्ड का। As we all have read before that even you went to Brahmaloka, then also you have to go through the cycle of birth and death. So Prabhupada is telling that it is temporary, it is perishable, and you have to start working upon it. But what I really like the point, he is also giving the method of approaching that problem. Everyone tells about the problems. Every organization tells about the problem. This we have even our government tells about the problem. But here is the solution given by Prabhupada in all the steps. In fact, Prabhupada also mentioning here about Mahaprabhu, and he is also saying that most merciful avatar of God is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this is what making him different from Krishna. While approaching to Krishna, we have to surrender to him. But Mahaprabhu is there only for giving. If you surrender or you not surrender, even also he is distributing the love of God. This is how he is merciful. So yeah, this is I really like that point of Prabhupada, that how he told about the greatness of Mahaprabhu. Yeah, this is all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Deepak Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu ji.
Hare Krishna.
तो प्रभुपाद जी बता रहे थे कि शुरुआत में 3rd चैप्टर के कि God is unconquerable, but God can be conquered by the devotee if they abandon mental speculation and just surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord. तो ये पॉइंट मुझे अच्छा लगा था। एंड इन द लास्ट जैसे प्रभुपाद जी बता रहे थे कि वी कैन नॉट अप्रोच गॉड बाय एक्सपेरिमेंटली, वी हैव टू अप्रोच द वेदास एंड भगवद गीता, लाइक श्रीमद् भागवतम एंड भगवद गीता। सो एग्जाम्पल दे रहे थे कि कैसे जो नया बच्चा जो न्यू बॉर्न बेबी रहता है तो वो अपनी अपने माँ के वर्ड से ही अपने फादर को जान सकता है, नहीं तो और उन पर बिलीव करके, तो इस तरह से वो अपने फादर को जान सकता है। अदरवाइज एक्सपेरिमेंटली इट इज़ नॉट पॉसिबल, है ना। तो इसलिए प्रभुपाद जी बता रहे थे कि एक्सपेरिमेंटली अगर हम जाएंगे ढूंढने तो फिर बहुत मुश्किल होगी भगवान को ढूंढना, लेकिन अगर हम शास्त्रों का सहारा लेंगे तो हम इजीली ढूंढ पाएंगे। एंड वन मोर पॉइंट मतलब और पॉइंट था, ओके आई विल टेल अगेन in the end. I will tell in the end. Yes, Roji.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Gaudiya Mathas.
जी मैं थोड़ा लेट हो गई थी ज्वाइन करने के लिए, बट व्हेन आई ज्वाइंड एक पॉइंट आया था कि मतलब टू काइंड्स ऑफ पीपल होते हैं जो स्पिरिचुअल नॉलेज ट्राई करते हैं लेने का। सो प्रोसेस बेसिकली 2 है, वन इज असेंडिंग एंड डिसेंडिंग। तो असेंडिंग जो फॉलो करते हैं दे डोंट एक्सेप्ट एक्चुअली एनी अथॉरिटी, वो अपने आप ही बुक्स पढ़ते हैं और मतलब अपने आप ही करते रहेंगे, बट दे विल नॉट टेक हेल्प फ्रॉम अदर्स, वो कोई अथॉरिटी नहीं एक्सेप्ट करेंगे। सेकंड काइंड ऑफ पीपल प्रोसेस इज डिसेंडिंग, जिसमें पर्सन एक्सेप्ट्स अथॉरिटी और जो अथॉरिटी से जो भी इंस्ट्रक्शंस मिलती हैं सो ही ट्राइज टू फॉलो दैट। तो और जो रिकमेंडेड है दैट इज द डिसेंडिंग प्रोसेस। सो हमें वही फॉलो करना चाहिए जो प्रभुपाद अगेन एंड अगेन बोलते भी हैं। एंड सेकेंड थिंग वाज कि जहाँ प्रभुपाद बता रहे थे कि जो हमारी जो गवर्नमेंट है या कोई भी है तो वो दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट प्रॉब्लम्स जो कि रेलिवेंट प्रॉब्लम्स हैं भी नहीं। तो नो वन थिंक्स अबाउट द फॉर प्रॉब्लम्स ऑफ लाइफ। तो बार बार वो बर्थ क्यों लेना है यहाँ पे, तो वो दोज थिंग्स दो सॉल्यूशंस नो वन प्रोवाइड्स, जो कि कृष्णा भगवत गीता में देते हैं। सेकेंड पॉइंट वो एंड एक चीज और प्रभुपाद ने बताया कि शायद जो साइंस जो है हमारे कब से एक्सपेरिमेंट भी करते हैं कि दूसरे प्लैनेट्स पे लाइफ है या नहीं, बट प्रभुपाद इज सेइंग कि स्क्रिप्चर्स के थ्रू वो बता रहे हैं कि दूसरे प्लैनेट्स पे भी लाइफ है, वहां भी लिविंग एंटिटीज हैं। और उन्होंने फिर एग्जांपल दिया कि हम कहीं स्काई में भी अर्थ में भी कहीं हम डिग करेंगे तो एवरीवेयर देयर इज वन और द अदर फॉर्म ऑफ लिविंग एंटिटी। तो वो ये चीजें थी जो मैंने जो मुझे अच्छी लगी यहाँ पे आज के रीडिंग में।
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. So, I think I also have got the same points कि अगर हम mental speculation से जाते हैं तो we will, मतलब millions of years will also be not enough कि अगर हम मतलब millions trillions of years भी लगाते हैं to find God and who is the supreme personality of Godhead, then वो भी कम पड़ जाएंगे। तो we should follow the scriptures and we should hear from the realized souls only. Then we will able to understand, or not even understand, at least we can get liberated from this cycle of birth and death permanently. And also, Prabhupada said we scientists don't have solution for the birth, disease, old age, and death. So that's why they kept it aside. And even the humans don't have solution, or they don't even think of it, and not spared by it as well. That's why they use some intoxication to get out of the miseries, but that is very temporary process, because miseries will return again when you will get out of the effect of the intoxication. So yes, I think Krishna consciousness is the only way, as Prabhupada have also mentioned, that, so that we can attain our eternal position of being into state of real happiness and bliss. That is all we are hankering for. So yes, we should follow it sincerely, and as it is, we should remember Krishna 24 hours a day. Then only it will be possible. Yes, thank you. And hello, Prabhuji.
तो कनक माता जी से नहीं पूछेंगे?
Prabhuji, she is not well.
यस कनक माता जी। ओह, अच्छा ठीक है ओके।
उनके ना टूथ एक हो रहा है बहुत ज्यादा कल रात से, तो अभी
ओके
हॉस्पिटल लेके जाएंगे।
ओ कृष्णा, ओके ओके ठीक है, ध्यान रखिए, बताना मुझे।
यस सर।
तो मुझे ये जो स्टार्टिंग में प्रभुपाद पॉइंट बताए थे सरेंडर वाला, हम देखते हैं कि इस मटेरियल वर्ल्ड में प्रभुपाद बताते भी हैं, पहले हम बुक्स में पढ़े थे स्टार्टिंग में कि इस मटेरियल वर्ल्ड में हमारे आने का सिर्फ एक ही रीजन है, दैट इज फॉल्स ईगो। व्हेन वी वर इन द स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड एंजॉयिंग विद कृष्णा, वी वांट टू एंजॉय सेपरेटली, वी वांटेड टू इमिटेट कृष्णा। So Krishna says, okay, I'm going to create this material world, and you go and enjoy there if you can. So we come down to this material world, and like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bahu Janmanam Antir. And after many births, in one birth, the living entity realize that, oh, my job is done. I can't enjoy separately. I need to enjoy. I can only enjoy with Krishna. So when this point comes, then that is a starting point of breaking that false ego. So we start praying to Krishna that, okay, I'm done, please take me back. And then Krishna says, no, it's not gonna work that way, you need to surrender. So we see that Arjuna also in Bhagavad Gita is lamenting in starting, but at the point when he surrenders to Krishna, Krishna starts giving him the supreme instructions, and then he started understanding them, discussing them in a submissive mode. In our case, we might not be having Krishna face to face directly, but then Krishna says, no, I came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this Kali Yuga to teach you how to surrender, which means surrender to the spiritual master. And all our acharyas like Narottam Das Thakur, when they approach their spiritual, Narottam Das Thakur approached their spiritual master. Spiritual master said, no, I'm not qualified to give you initiation. He said, no, I need your initiation. No, I can't give you initiation. Then continuously for 1 year, he was cleansing his bathroom for 1 year, even without knowing his spiritual master. So even though he was very qualified devotee, still he was he was so submissive that he was cleansing the toilet of his spiritual master. Sanatana Goswami was a learned minister, but when he approaches Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, no, I'm Mudha. People think I'm well learned, but I'm completely Mudha. I don't even know who am I. So similarly, our acharyas also have shown that no matter on what position they were materially, but when it comes to spiritual life, they were some very submissive. They showed that no, we don't have any qualification. So following the footsteps of our acharyas, all of us should also try to become submissive when it comes to learning and progressing in spiritual life. Now there are 2 points. One is one might not be having the spiritual master. That's fine. They can be submissive to the senior authorities. Then the another point comes, no, I know some of the senior support authorities, but I still need to find out who I can be submissive to. Then that is also fine. At least we should pray to Nityanand Prabhu that gives us his mercy in the form of some senior devotee who we can follow the footsteps of. And that's the process of getting a spiritual master also. A spiritual master is not find out by mental speculation. We always cry and pray to Lord Nityanand Prabhu that please show over his mercy and let us know who should be our spiritual master, who should we really approach to. And so similarly, when we hear all the lectures, initially, if we are not having senior devotees to follow, we can be submissive to the instructions coming from different lectures. And if we definitely have the senior devotee, then no matter what happens, we should be like Taba Pache Pache. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says in his Vaishnav song, Taba Pache Pache. Then we just be like Pache Pache. We should keep following the instruction. So that's the process of being submissive. And when it comes to the stage of submission, then Krishna understands, okay, he is becoming submissive. I should start giving him some knowledge so he comes back to me. And then when that submission becomes 100%, game over. Back home, back to God.
Okay. So I was able to join Prabhuji for last 6 minutes. Yeah, my call was
Yes, thank you.
over. So no, I think what you summarized is wonderful. But I just want to add one point. I was hearing in one lecture. Probably you have also heard the same. So we have this habit of among devotees, Prabhuji, I'm Muda and I'm this, I'm that, I'm so fallen, and मैं तो पाखंडी हूँ, मैं ऐसा हूँ, मैं वैसा हूँ. So if you really want to test how you are, let other person speak about it. क्योंकि अगर दूसरा व्यक्ति जब हमसे बोलेगा, हम तो बोल रहे हैं कितने फॉलन है, दूसरा व्यक्ति बोलेगा देखो ये कितना नीच है, कितना पतित है, कितना घमंडी है, and then what emotions or what reaction come in your mind, that tells you what your state is.
Yeah.
अगर हमारे को अपने मुंह से बोलने का बात अलग है, लेकिन जब दूसरा हमको बोलेगा तो हमें, क्योंकि आज जो आपने उदाहरण दिया ना आचार्य का, हम उन्हें मिमिक तो कर नहीं सकते हैं, वो भाव तो हमारे अंदर नहीं आ सकता, लेकिन हम बोलते रहते हैं कई बार, स्पेशली मेरे अंदर ये बहुत ज्यादा है बोलने का, अरे मैं तो ऐसे ही हूँ, मैं कुछ नहीं, लेकिन लेट अदर पर्सन सी एंड देन रियलाइज, तब पता चलेगा.
अब वो तो डिवोटी सर्कल में कोई बोलता ही नहीं. डिवोटी सर्कल में तो वो आपको ऐसे दिखाते हैं जैसे प्योर डिवोटी है आप लोग.
दिक्कत
पर
तो
हाँ,
यही है.
आपका पॉइंट है कि जैसे मान लीजिए रोड पे जा रहे हैं.
हाँ
नहीं, बट आपका पॉइंट वो मतलब एक वैलिड है. जैसे मान लीजिए हम रोड पे हैं, कहीं जा रहे हैं, तो अब डिपेंड करता है. मतलब मुझे लगता है फिर भी स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ में और मटेरियल लाइफ में क्या ऐसा रहता है कि हम लोग की डिफरेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज हैं. तो कहीं ना कहीं दैट भाव becoming submissive doesn't work in material life because you have to fulfill different responsibilities. For example, you are a positional manager और कोई subordinate है, वो बोले कि तू बता ना, हमसे क्या पूछ रहा, क्या काम किया. मैनेजर तो हाँ फिर उस रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी को निभानी. बट स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ में है मान लीजिए and you are on a position of managing different things, then subordinate also understand that I am the servant, you're also understanding I am the servant, so that servitude works very well. And there only you can do the real testing. So then this practical application where you are expecting your subordinate to speak ill about you, and if you are able to tolerate it or not, that doesn't work because devotees are not blaspheme you at least directly on the face.
करेक्ट.
तो वो फिर
नहीं,
मतलब
उसके लिए
मुझे
बाहर
जितना
के वर्ल्ड
समझ आया
में
अभी
भी
तक.
आपने जो उदाहरण दिया ना, वो एग्जांपल थोड़ा वर्क प्लेस का है, बट हमारे रिश्तेदार, हमारे परिवार वाले भी हमको आईना दिखा देते हैं, दूर जाने की जरूरत नहीं है.
हाँ, करेक्ट
है ना. और अगर हम अपने
वो भी है,
परिवार वालों और रिश्तेदारों से भी
वो
अगर
भी है.
अहित हो रहे हैं उन भाव से, तो भी हमारा आई थिंक वी स्टिल नीड टू इम्प्रूव अ लॉट.
Yeah.
मतलब मेरा आई मे बी रॉन्ग बट मतलब मेरे को ऐसा लगा कि हाँ आपने जो एग्जांपल दिया थोड़ा सा
No,
वो
absolutely. There's
थोड़ा सा वो वैसा है, थोड़ा सा वर्क प्लेस वगैरह के स्पेस में शायद थोड़ा अलग हो जाता है, बट हमारे डे टू डे लाइफ में हमारे परिवार और वो सब चीजों में रिश्तेदारों में वहां पर अपने माँ बाप या अपने रिश्तेदार जो हैं वो जब बताते
Yeah.
हैं देखो नवीन को कितना घमंड हो गया है, वो देखो बात ही नहीं करता है, फोन ही नहीं लगाता है, हाँ, ये कर लिया है, वो तो अब अपने आप बड़े आदमी हो गए हैं, बड़ा पैसा कमा लिया है, ऐसे. देन हाउ यू फील एंड व्हाट इज देयर इमोशन कमिंग.
Yes, bro.
समझे आप मेरा पॉइंट?
Yes, bro.
सॉरी प्रभु जी, आई टुक सो मच
I,
टाइम.
I see. No problem.
Yeah.
Thank you, Naveen Prabhu ji.
थैंक यू प्रभु जी. सॉरी प्रभु जी, थोड़ा अभी मेरे को लग रहा है कि मेरी लाइफ में हेक्टिक ही चलता रहेगा, थोड़ा डिस्टर्ब रहेगा अभी कुछ दिनों और, तो मैं ज्वाइन करूंगा बट पता नहीं कि अभी थोड़ा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज बढ़ा हुआ है मेरा. ओके प्रभु जी,
We'll stop here. Vacha kalparu कृपा सिंधु जय पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. प्रभुपाद की जय.
Thank you everyone. Thank you. Hare Krishna.